Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. We're just going to get started momentarily. I'm just sending out the live stream. And we'll get this thing underway. Let me know in the comments section if you guys can hear me. And we'll get this going shortly here. All right. All right. All right. So we will get this show underway momentarily. The go live time is officially 11:55, so we'll just give everyone a couple more minutes to log in. So the first thing what we're going to do is the ABA 1-year anniversary stuff, and then we're going to do the live sim because a lot of the ABA 1-year anniversary stuff pulls directly from, well, the export pre the playoffs. So if somebody wins a championship, it could change stuff. So we're going to do it right beforehand. But obviously, we'll do another one of these next year. Probably one at 6 months, because we did one at 6 months as well previously. So anyway, ask if you guys don't mind sending this around, making sure that people have the ability to access it. And there's a lot of people that weren't originally they aren't in ABA now, but they were original members, or they were involved with us at some time, because people come and go in BBGM leagues, just is what it is. Yeah, with that, we'll just kind of get this thing going, and share it about, get it all over the place, if you guys want to check it out. And make sure that people, have an opportunity to check out ABA. And either way, we'll get into this momentarily, guys. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited as well. And I did my best. I'm not like a great photo artist or anything, so please don't give me too much hate there. And yeah, my camera will be on when we get to the actual sim. But I was just trying to fit everything I could onto these slides for you guys as we go through here. So we'll get started in about a minute or so. Hope you guys are ready to go. It's going to be a good one, and I'm excited. So if you guys are excited, down in the comments, let me know. Any way it works. I'm a type hype. You guys can let me know what works for you, and we'll get this thing going momentarily here. And then, of course, we'll do the playoff simulation. Yeah. So, with that being said, I'm just checking my audio now, making sure you guys can hear me. And, yeah. Once I know that audio and everything is good to go, we will get this thing going. All right. Just making sure everything's good to go. Okay, and the last thing I just got to put in lineups for Boston. I will close lineups for now, but I will be checking the Discord to make sure it's good to go. Jones. So guys, with that, here we are, and let's get started. Are you all ready? Yeah? Great. So with that, we will get going right here. All right. So it's been 1 year. ABA is a year old. I'm shocked, frankly. People said that we wouldn't get that far, but now here we are, almost 300 members, almost 20 seasons in. And you'll notice for the players, I tried to scale it by height. Some players are a little bit smaller than others. I'm not perfect, though, so some players might seem a little off. But either way, let's get through here. First, we'll start up with the all-time ABA team, and we'll start with the third team. These are the top 15 players in league history. You have point guard Marcus McPherson. He played a lot of time for Utah and Dallas, and then he bounced around a little bit. He's the only player to ever average a triple-double. He did that in a season with Utah. He also was an MVP and won a chip with them, though LeBron took his finals MVP. Julius Erving was one of the best players in league history. He's put up a ton of points and nearly averaged triple-double several seasons for Boston and Kentucky. He also had some great years with Chicago and has been a storied player in ABA history, but he isn't really quite as great all around, but he's definitely one of the best shooting guards we've ever had. Jacob Owens is basically the Kevin Durant of ABA. The dude puts up points in bunches, but he doesn't really do a ton else otherwise. But he is one of the best small forwards ever. His best moments came, of course, with Las Vegas, but he also played alongside the likes of David McGillen and has bounced around a bit as a role player and a scorer towards the end of his career here. Then, of course, you have the best defensive player in league history, Ty Jackson, the first cap on this group here. One of the OG caps, actually, was the first cap ever to play in ABA. And he's been absolutely great. His defensive presence as a power forward and center have been unrivaled, and he's had a big role on one of the best defensive teams, the Milwaukee Hawks under YBP, for a very long time. And frankly, his defense has been unmatched. It allowed him to take home, I believe, 6 or 7 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Then, of course, you got Matt Pitts. He was one of the greatest players when the league started. While he started almost 30 years old, he played into his 40s. He was a force to be reckoned with as both a pass-first big man, but also as a scorer. And he led Seattle to almost 10 straight playoff appearances during his, the early years of ABA, including 2 finals appearances and a finals victory. Honorable mentions here, they didn't quite make the list, but they definitely came close, would be shooting guard Josh Wade, who played mostly for the Bullets, Royals, and Tropics, and he's still around. James Halenga, who retired but was a longtime Royal, but had a storied career as a scorer, almost in the same vein as Jacob Owens, but not quite there. McPherson Thompson, who's led Miami for almost a decade now at this point, actually I think over a decade, is one of the best big men in the league, almost 10-time All-Star, I believe, and frankly one of the best players in Miami history and in league history. Marcus Buckner, of course, one of the best scorers when he retired. I believe he was the all-time leading scorer, all-time leading three-point shooter, and all-time leading free throw maker. Of course, now his records have been broken by somebody later on this list, but he has come out of retirement to play alongside his sons at the old age of 44. So, now we'll take a look at the All-ABA second team. These guys are top 10 players, basically. You got Billy Bogues. He's won several championships. He's bounced around the league, of course, but he's always been incredibly high PER point guard. Shooting guard Axel Blaze, arguably one of the top 3 players in league history. You'll see why he's here in a second. But he is phenomenal, averaging nearly 40 points. If his career was over and we had a full slate of his career, he would probably be in the first team for sure. Will probably pick up another championship this year as he led Kentucky to a 79-win season. Then you have LeBron James. Man's almost averaged a triple-double, has led Utah and Montreal to dominating runs. He's one of the best players in league history, and even if you're a LeBron hater, the stuff that he's done in ABA is unprecedented. He'll go down as probably one of the best players in league history. Jay Kumar broke the cap curse. He led Miami. Now he's in Minnesota, where he's had a phenomenal second career. He's going to go down as one of the best forwards in league history. A true tweener. He can play small forward or power forward and put up consistently close to 10 rebounds and 20-plus points. One of the most consistent players in league history over the last decade and one of the OG caps. Then you got Big and Chunky The dude is a phenomenal offensive center, almost like a Dirk Nowitzki on steroids. The only downside with him is that he really doesn't pass the ball. He isn't exactly a great team player, but he puts up near 40 points and 15 rebounds every game, which is insane, and he's done it in an era with some other unprecedented big men. He's maintained to be a top 3 or top 4 guy, mostly with Dallas and Tampa, where he's proven to be one of the best players in league history. And now, of course, guys, we got the best part for you. The top 5 players in ABA history, the ABA first team. You have point guard Max Powers. The dude's almost got a career average of a triple-double. He's missed having a triple-double several times by like 0.1. He's a 9-time All-Star. 17 seasons he's played, or 11-time All-Star, 9-time All-League with 17 seasons. He's played all around the league, had all sorts of roles, but he'll probably best be remembered in his time with New York and Anaheim, where he almost carried the team to the playoffs despite injuries in both cases. Or almost carried the team to the finals. He did carry them to the playoffs. Then, of course, you got Penetrator, the all-time leading scorer in league history. He's still going and still over 30 points per game. His career, 28.2 points per game and 6.8 assists, but the last few seasons, he's looking at double-double territory. He's a 9-time All-League player, 11-time All-Star, and frankly, he's going to own these record books for a while, unless David McGillen's got something to say about that. Then you got Jacob Anura. The dude's averages seem a little low because he kept playing at a very old age. He started ABA as one of the older players, but he led the Detroit team. They ended up making 3 finals appearances during his tenure, and they picked up a chip. Detroit's been blessed with GMs. They've always had great GMs, and the fact is he was a team leader, nearly averaging a triple-double. His MVP season, he truly gave his all and brought that team to a chip. And we've seen some legendary playoff series between Anura and Jet Stevens and the Vancouver Grizzlies. Anura will go down as the greatest Detroit Falcon you could ever imagine and one of the best team players in league history. Finally, you have probably the ABA GOAT, David McGillen Jr. While I put him at power forward, he also has played a lot of center for Melbourne. He's only played on one team his whole career, but he's averaged 35.7 points per game, including a 40-point season. Almost 12 rebounds a game, including a 14-rebound season. 4.7 assists per game, but it's been trending up the last few years. 8 MVPs. He's the only player to win more than 3. The only player to win 2 is right below him on this list. And, of course, McGillen carried his team to a finals appearance with a supporting cast that could best be described as non-existent. David McGillen is, simply said, the best player I've ever seen in BBGM. Next up, we got Byron Powers, 25.5 points per game, 14.1 rebounds per game, 2.6 blocks per game, 2 MVPs. He was the first multi-time MVP. He never won a ring, which will go down forever as the probably the biggest shortcoming of his career. But he is a phenomenal player. His run was unprecedented, and if it wasn't for injuries and an early retirement, he may very well be challenging McGillen as the best player of all time. Alright, guys. Next up here, we got the top 5 franchises ever. You have, number 1, the Vancouver Grizzlies with 2 championships. You have the Montreal Jazz with 3 championships. The Boston Braves with 2. The Minnesota Muskies with 3. And the Melbourne Tigers with 1. I want to note, Minnesota and Melbourne, both expansion teams. That's how absolutely insane these teams have been. For an expansion team to get into the best franchises ever when you have 50 teams is insane. I just want to know real quickly, there's some honorable mentions here. Some franchises that you could definitely make the argument belong in this list, because there's really no clear GOAT team in ABA. Those would be Miami Floridans, Hawaii Hurricanes, Anaheim Amigos, Dallas Chaps, Detroit Falcons, Chicago Bruins, Bosnia, I can't pronounce that word, and Denver Rockets. Honestly, ABA has a historic amount of teams, and the fact is there are so many high-quality teams. ABA hasn't been dominated by one team ever. You could argue the Montreal Jazz had an insanely great 6-championship run under Damian. However, they only won 3 of those 6 appearances, and prior to that and after that, they crashed down hard. So we'll see if they're able to even maintain that success, or it will go down as a brief era in history like the Chicago Bulls had that great era, but really haven't done anything on either side. So next up here, we got the top 10 GMs ever. I know everyone's looking forward to this, and this was a lot of fun to do. So first I'm going to start with the honorable mentions here. You got Complete Fleecer, Irfan, Luke Brinker, Dane Mason, QRVL, who's also the penetrator, G-Man, Josh, JJ, YBP, and Bear Fighters. Honestly, those were all great GMs. They've all had GM of the Year seasons. They've all carried their franchises to finals appearances and great playoff runs. Unfortunately, they don't crack the top 10. This is why we got the top 10. Nico Fadiv. He led Dallas to one finals appearance, was the 2022 GM of the Year, and his team made 18 straight playoff appearances. This will be their first year outside the playoffs ever. That's how great he was. As a GM, he did not miss the playoffs. And it wasn't like they weren't in contention. They just fell short to some great teams. Next up, DD Savage. Unfortunately, they are 0 for 8 in the finals. They have not won a single finals game, but they made it there twice. They've consistently been a contender in a very tough Western Conference, and as a result, over his 19 seasons in the league, DD makes it on to number 9. Next up, you got Kevin and the Charlotte Bobcats, one of two-time GM of the Years in league history, and potentially a contender right now. He's only been in the league 9 seasons and has 2 GM of the Years. That means he wins GM of the Year almost 20% of the time he's in the league. That's crazy. Then I'm maybe a little biased here, so maybe you can pop number 7 out here. But I ran the Boston Braves the first seasons in the league. Won GM of the Year in the first season with M Process, the two of us as co-GM of the Years. I have 2 titles, and I did 3 seasons, but my 3rd season was an absolute horrible mess. It was a fun time. But I also definitely mortgaged Boston's future to win now, and they were awful for a while after me. So that's probably my fault. But it was a lot of fun in the early years, especially with other people having to sim the playoffs as a result. Then you got Billy the Kid at number 6. Cincinnati's been one of the best teams, especially by overall, ever. They've consistently fallen short, which is always disappointing. Several small ball or no depth teams, and infamously trading away Josh Wade when they thought they had the chip locked up, only to lose in the finals. He's been around for 19 seasons and been one of the most consistent GMs in league history. Then you have Co-Commish Cole. Cole was the original Co-Commish. He has 1 title, 2 finals appearances, and was a GM for 12 seasons, never missing the playoffs under Seattle. He led the Matt Pitts Seattle Supersonics. While he's not in the league currently, the impact, of course, that he had on the league must be felt here. And then you got B. Kinney, the first 2-time GM of the Year. He broke the cap curse. He's been with the league since day one, and of course he has a title to his name. Next up, we got Hugh. 11 seasons. He's got a title, 3 finals appearances, and a GM of the Year. Pretty storied right there. He's also goes down as probably one of the greatest moderators in league history, if not the greatest. He carried the league for several seasons, and is a big part of where we are today. His Amigos teams were great, but he also GM'd briefly as the Stags at the start of the league. Next up, we got Xander. He's fairly new to the league, but he's got 3 titles, a GM of the Year, and he's only been around for 6, technically 8 seasons if you count as 2 with Edmonton. And next up, of course, you got the legend himself, Damien. The Montreal Jazz went to 6 straight finals appearances thanks to him. He brought that team out of the gutter, won GM of the Year, and if it wasn't for off-field issues or off-court issues, Damien will probably go down as the undisputed GOAT. We've had some great GMs in ABA history, and I just want to say thank you to everyone that's made ABA's GMing experience truly unmatched. The amount of new high-quality GMs that we've gained in the last few months is insane, and I'm very excited. I think that we could definitely see many of our current great GMs hitting into this list very soon, and honestly, it's just an exciting time. So next up here, we have the worst trade of all time. There's no other way to say this. The Minneapolis Lakers traded Richard Hopkins, who is 21 years old and a young hybrid guard forward. They traded him for 7 second-round picks and 2 scrubs. Hopkins made 6 All-Star games, was the highest-rated player one season, and was the best player on a championship team. None of those second-round picks did anything, and those 2 other players were out of the league within a year. Probably Ricky's worst trade I've ever seen, frankly. Next up here, worst draft pick of all time. So they are in order left to right here. You got Darius Posey Jr. on New Jersey Americans. He was the 5th pick, ended with a negative 3.3 EWA. Then you got Calvin Lee. He was actually a cap. He had injury issues. He was the 1st overall pick, won Rookie of the Year, and it was all downhill from there thanks to injuries and trades. Infamously, Jay Daudio probably won that trade in which they sent him for Brent Jones, probably cost Dallas a championship. Then you got Dodge McKissick, another injury-plagued player here for Tian. He was the 5th overall pick just a couple of years ago, and he's already struggling to stay in the league. Was only on the league on a grace of a two-way deal last season. Then you got Dwayne Wade. He was picked by JJ. Pick number 4, finished with an 8.3 EWA. Yeah, that was incredibly disappointing. Could have been one of the best players in league history. I believe he had almost 70 potential, if not higher than that, and he's out of the league just a few years later. And then you got Chase Powers, the worst pick in league history, which is crazy because 2 of his brothers hit the top 5 players. And then you got Chase Powers, the 3rd overall pick. His career, negative 2.2 EWA, and he was picked by the greatest GM ever. That's insane, but that's BBGM for you. All right, guys, worst contract in league history time. James On-Woo Diego Wu. He was a center picked by the signed by the Cincinnati Royals. He signed a 7-year, max $38 million deal. This signing was a disaster. He peaked as a 57 on the deal. He was traded 3 times and became the first player ever bought out. You'll see how absolutely horrible he was on the contract. Some seasons he got close to a double-double. His first one with Cincinnati wasn't too bad. However, by the time he was on San Diego, even though they weren't a playoff team, he was still failing to crack 20 minutes and still failing to put up 5 rebounds a game. So with that, guys, we will go right into the ABA playoffs here. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And now it should transition right over to the playoffs here, and we will get right underway. So I hope this is going well for all you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and we'll get going. All right. Just making sure it switches all good. Haven't experimented with it. All right, I think we're good, right? Yeah, we're good. Beautiful. All right, guys. Are you ready? Let's get going. All right. So, 2038 ABA playoffs here. Of course, Kentucky, probably the favorite, going 79-3, the best record I've ever seen in a multiplayer league. Thanks in part to a phenomenal core, GM of the Year season for sure. Some great trades, bringing in a strong core. And frankly, this team is unprecedented good. Thanks in large part, really just a perfect fit of players. So with that, we will get underway here. We'll sim one game. We'll take a look at some of these upsets here. We got Beijing upsetting Chicago, Melbourne beating Los Angeles, Rio beating Vancouver, that's a shock, Hawaii beating Denver, Jacksonville beating Belgrade, Carolina beating Toronto, Boston beating New Jersey, and Tampa beating Cleveland. We're going to take a look at a couple of these upsets here because honestly some of them are shocking. So Beijing picks up the victory, led by Mikan, of course, who has a phenomenal near triple-double. Joe Karen played okay, and honestly all the starters played great for Chicago. I'm not too concerned if I'm Chicago. It's just Mikan had a phenomenal game, and when a player goes off for a triple-double, you don't expect it can always harm you. Looking at Rio de Janeiro here, they pick up the victory largely thanks to a phenomenal game from Billy Hole, who goes 11 for 18 for 31 points, and an absolutely horrible game from Wolfenbarger and Zion Jajaeus, who really struggle here as Vancouver drops that game. That's a surprise upset. We'll take a look over here at this Jacksonville game. Jacksonville, of course, beating Belgrade here, which is shocking. But you'll see they got 22 points. Only one player over 20 points. Only one player over 11 points. And they knock out Belgrade. McCabe with 22 points. Honestly, it's just injury-driven. That's about it. This could be a scenario where we see Jacksonville go up 3-0 and then blow it. I think it's very possible. All right. And, of course, Carolina beating Toronto, despite injuries, of course, hitting them hard. I guess Billups went off. I mean, this was a low-scoring game. Eric Guillen had a horrible game, so I guess there's that. Yeah, just very strange time. All right, so with that, we'll go into Game 2 here. All right, we got another upset in the Beijing series. Beijing now up 2-0. This might be a problem for Chicago. That's a pretty early hole that they're in. Thanks again to a strong game from Mikan and now T-Mac, as both players nearly tripled or nearly double-double. And we actually saw a great game from Joe Caron, but Josh Gale, nowhere to be seen. 2 for 14 shooting. Can't have that in the playoffs. And that puts Chicago in a pretty rough hole here. Vancouver does beat Rio, and Hawaii is now up 2-0. Jacksonville loses to Belgrade. Carolina picks up a second victory. They do lose another starting player here. This is honestly insane. This was an overtime game. Wayne Oliver made the game-winning basket. Wow. Honestly, this is kind of impressive here because this is a objectively better Toronto team that's healthier. And just losing thanks to, honestly, Big Shot Billups leading that team. New Jersey picks up a victory over Boston, a 1-point victory here. Nick Price hitting the game winner, and Boston, of course, still had several players out due to injury here, though injuries are shared on both sides of the court here. Dollar Price has been the star for their team, and honestly, nobody had a great game here other than Mersan off the bench. Mersan off the bench here putting up 30 points. I don't know if I've ever seen that many points in a playoff game off the bench, but he did it. And, of course, Jaden Hasbro also playing decently off the bench there. All right, so next up here, we will take a look at Cleveland. Cleveland picking up the victory. So they won despite Bill Russell getting hurt. I guess Big and Chunky had a pretty rough game. BB Kinney was super efficient, though. So there's that. Yeah, that is just kind of weird. This is a weird series, and frankly, whoever wins this series is going to lose to Chicago in 4. So, yeah. All right. Let's see. You guys ready for next round? All right. Here we go. Our next game. Chicago picks up a victory here. Joe Caron with 45 points. That's huge. 16 field goals. Wow. So Chicago going off here, and they're showing their true colors. And it doesn't even matter that Mikan played well. T-Mac played awful, so they were in a pretty big hole. Chicago definitely needed that victory, and now they lead 1-2. Melbourne up 3-0. We'll see if there's any major injury concerns here. Unfortunately, you have this situation of, in reality, Melbourne is just an objectively better team, and David McGillen exists. So, yeah. Vancouver is now up 2-0. Health-wise, both teams are pretty on even playing field here. And we'll take a look over at Hawaii and check for injuries. Penetrator did get hurt in that game, but Denver did drop it anyway. Horrible game from Cardiac, and Kevin Nando maybe proving me wrong and actually proving that he is an all-star. Yeah, we'll see. This is a cap-heavy battle right now taking place. All right, now we'll take a look. Belgrade beats Jacksonville. Carolina surprisingly leads 3-0. This is insane. I have not seen something like this happen before. So Ellis is playing fine, and really you're actually seeing a fine performance from Toronto consistently, and just random players going off. And that's keeping Carolina alive. They might upset. This might happen. Carolina is always kind of at the bottom of the playoffs here, but they might be able to pick up a victory over Toronto. All right. Boston beats New Jersey, and Cleveland picking up another upset over Tampa Bay here. BB Kinney goes down, and despite 29 points from Big and Chunky, it isn't enough to upset Drazen and Bill Russell, who are the veteran leaders of this really solid team. Even a bad game from Hooks it doesn't set them back. Even Holton didn't play particularly well. All right, guys. With that here, we'll go into our first elimination game. And, yeah. Just checking lineups right now. All right. All right. So we have our first elimination. It looks like only one. Yep. All right, so we'll take a look there. But Beijing picks up another victory over Chicago here. Despite some strong performances, it isn't enough. Is Beijing, I guess, just gets a great performance from Garrett Jennings and T-Mac. Yeah, that's really the only thing there. That's just a weird game where Chicago, I think, objectively played better but lost. Melbourne does advance. David McGillen with 35, 16, and 6 with 7 blocks. I mean, it's David McGillen. What you going to do? There's not much you can do against David McGillen. And unfortunately, LA is knocked out here. But they gave it a pretty valiant effort despite having lost Light in the offseason. Light, meanwhile, sitting out this first round as he's in Washington. Rio picks up their second victory. This might be a series. They actually do it in pretty sizable fashion. Bad play from a few of the starters on Vancouver. And Colton Nicholas showing that he still is relevant. And, of course, good play from Howell and Slenderman as well. All right, Denver picks up their first, potentially only victory of the series so far. Penetrator goes for 37, but bad playing from Nick Jacobs allows for Kevin Niendo to continue to lead that team. He's having an absolutely insane season so far. All right, or absolutely insane playoffs so far. Kevin Niendo breaking out. Jacksonville picks up their second victory here again. Still on the injuries. Now they got 3 guys out. Anthony Stewart, the rookie, goes off, but a true 11-12-12 triple-double from Rares Ola isn't enough as Farmanson continues to lead this team to another victory here. We also see Toronto potentially making a comeback here. They are the better team, so they could potentially come back from 0-3. This time they're led by Cottrell Ellis, who nearly triple-doubles. And 24 points off the bench from Greg Frazier. Meanwhile, Chauncey Billups, just 18 points. He kind of struggles, only shoots 50% from 3. He's been pretty hot so far this playoffs. Patrick Sullivan, just 11 points. And Tony Slider goes off. Fun fact, Tony Slider is actually mathematically the second biggest bust in league history. That more so has to do with the fact that he's only been in the league for a short amount of time, not that he's actually a bust. All right, so with that, guys, we will, let's see, Tampa Bay, also a victory, and New Jersey, an upset here as they beat Boston. Josh Jones has a great game, and so does Dowling. Clamp goes for 14-10 with 5 steals. You actually saw some really great defensive games here from Boston, but Dollar Price is hot, and when Dollar Price is hot, he can carry this team. They're also winning the rebounding battle big time. Boston's on the smaller side here. Ty Hoffer's really their only big man. Meanwhile, New Jersey, this is a very interesting matchup for those two teams as they both match up very differently. All right. So with that, we will go into the next game. Chicago with the victory. They needed that to stay alive. Rio de Janeiro picks up a huge victory, only a 1-point win here. What came down to a very close game. Rio has their big 3 comes through when they need them most. Oh, actually, wow, it wasn't their big 3. Umberto is part of their big 3 now, not Colton. Colton had a horrible game for Rio, but it's enough. Zion Jajaeus isn't able to carry his team, and Vancouver is now in a hole. We'll see if they can come back. Hawaii picks up the victory, knocking out Denver. Despite fine performance, Kevin Niendo proving he is a true all-star point guard for them. But it's Penetrator and Scarn, man. Two of the best backcourt probably in league history with a really solid team around them. This could potentially, if Kentucky does not win this season, Hawaii is one of the best teams, and I definitely could see them picking it up. Thing is, objectively, aside from Minnesota next round, this is a lot easier than this. So we'll see. Now we take a look over in the Eastern Conference here. Jacksonville does lead. However, we do have the return of Rare's last game. Did start to shift this as he has a really great game. Ben Darling puts up 30 points. Faubenshin with 18. And Jacksonville now leads. They may have a chance to advance here. Toronto with another victory. They could come back. I think everyone kind of wants them to come back just for the meme here. But Chauncey Billups with 17 points, 5 assists, 5 steals, just not enough. And Cottrell Ellis goes off for 24 and 12 with 6 steals and 3 blocks, single-handedly willing Toronto to stay in it and advance. We'll see if they can get it done next game. Then we can look. Boston does beat New Jersey, and Tampa does hold the lead over Cleveland. We will go into Game 6, and then we'll see what's up next here. Give me 1 second. I'm just checking lineups real quick. It doesn't look like we got any lineup changes. All right. So we will go into this next game here. Just waiting for lineup changes. All right, we'll sim this game, and then we'll do the live sims for the final game. I'm just going to bring us in a little bit closer so you guys can get a little bit better view here. All right. One second. Just adjusting the angle so you guys can see better. All right. There we go. That should be a little bit better for you guys. Sorry about that. All right. So with that, we will go one more game. All right. Boom. All right. We got Beijing picking up a loss here against Chicago. Chicago now brings this to Game 7. This is going to be a tough Game 7. These are both really solid teams. I could see it going either way. What an interesting first series we got here. Great games from TJ Kumar, Mikan, and I guess Jennings. 7 blocks from a point guard. That's just strange. We have a Game 7 taking place between Vancouver and Rio de Janeiro, with Vancouver picking up the huge victory in overtime here. Billy Hole made a 3-pointer bringing into overtime, but Ty Wolfenbarger, the owner himself, keeping their team alive by hitting the game winner. This is going to be another toss-up Game 7 here. We got Jacksonville knocking out Belgrade. Injuries, they happen. With Big Z out, it was a disappointing end to the season. Anthony Stewart does look like he could have next for this team, but he did have a bad end to the game, but he could be a two-way star point guard, so we'll see how that develops. Rares Ola also had a phenomenal playoff series, boosting that trade value if they choose to move him. Jordan Fajmison had 39 points in this knockout game. He's about to hit free agency, and he's going to get paid. A 39-16 game as a wing. Also, Bodio with a near triple-double in this last game. Bodio was in 6th Man of the Year running, too. So we'll see what takes place here as they go into next round. All right, taking a look, we got a Game 7 with New Jersey having picked up a victory. I think Boston's going to win this pretty easily. If Jumpin' Jones wasn't out, I doubt they lose. We'll see, though. Sam Johnson did regress significantly in this game, though he did finish with 8 assists, which is pretty cool to see there. Meanwhile, Dollar Price, super efficient, 22 points in 28 minutes. And we'll see. But I personally got my money on Boston there. And Tampa Bay knocks out Cleveland with a 105-96 victory. Big and chunky's 44-20 game does it. As I said, one of the greatest players in league history. All right, guys. What game you want to watch first? Boston, New Jersey, Chicago, Beijing, or Vancouver, Rio de Janeiro? Leave it in the comments section and let me see. Now I'll wait in the comments section. Let's see what chat says. It looks like New Jersey. Interesting. All right. I guess we'll do New Jersey. All right. So we'll go to end of first. Boston leads by 3. End of second, Boston leads by 11. End of third, Boston leads by double digits. And yeah, this game's over. Boston just convincingly handling business. They finish with a 19-point victory. Dollar Price shoots 50%, which isn't bad, but Willie Wright really struggles. And yeah, Jaden Hasbro was probably their best player. 10 minutes, 12 points. Meanwhile, Josh Jones, he didn't actually do too much besides for his 6 steals. It's the incredible defense of this Boston team, and they got so much cap room too. Mike Dowling with 26, Ty Hoffer double-doubles, 28 points off the bench for Trey Oakham, but a lot of garbage time here for him to pad his stats. Tongue twister. All right, so Boston with 1 victory. Next up here, we got Beijing, Chicago. All right. Halftime, Chicago down 3. Going into the fourth, Chicago up 1. This is going to be a nail-biter. Chicago down 3 with 6 minutes left. 3 minutes left. It's a 1-point game. 1 minute, 43 seconds left. Chicago leads by 3. TJ Kumar scores, putting Beijing down 1. Joe Karen, low post. It scores. Chicago back up 3. Foul on Karen. Mikan at the line. Mikan low post. He scores. Chicago up 1. Chicago's Schuler shoots at the rim. Dunks successfully. Chicago leads by 3. Oh, and Janin Strelakis steals the ball. Mid-range. Blocked by Garrett Jennings, saving the game. Harding with the rebound, so Beijing's got the ball now. Beijing, Harding for 3. I didn't think he was a 3-point shooter. 52 from 3. We'll see. This would be huge. It would tie the game. No good. Schuler, low post. Foul on TJ Kumar. Schuler at the line. He hits both. Garrett Jennings bricks it. Stankus the rebound. Chicago turns the ball over. Karen steals the ball back from Mike, and that's game. So a great defensive effort. Even though Garrett Jennings single-handedly wills them back, it looks like the game will be over. Gale at the free throw line. He hits both. And Chicago hangs in, pulling out the clutch Game 7 victory. TJ Kumar really gave his all, 23 and 12. Joe Karen, 24, 15, 10. A 10-point triple-double. Absolutely insane. In the playoffs, too. All right. Then we got Vancouver versus Rio de Janeiro. That is the last game of this series. Or the first round. All right. So into the fourth quarter here. Vancouver down double digits. This is a low-scoring game. Super low-scoring. Oh, Vancouver's rallying. Tie game with 3 minutes left. Wow, what a run in the fourth quarter. Vancouver has pulled ahead convincingly. Yeah, 4-point lead for Vancouver now. The layup is good and won by Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark missed the free throw, though. That could have been huge. It's only a 2-possession game. Kevin Warner at the rim. Foul. Warner only hits 1 free throw. Vancouver the board. 5-point game. Uma for 3. That would have sealed it. Posey low post for Rio misses. The board. King misses what would have sealed it. Cold Nicholas to Howell. It's in. 3-point game. Rio maybe rallying late. Guillen fouls out. Grubb misses 1 free throw. He makes the other. That's probably game. 4-point game. Umberto for 3, no good. And Kenny Clark turns it over, but it was game already. Wow. We do have several injuries to report for Rio, so we'll take a look at that. It looks like Giddings went out right away, so let's go take a look real quickly. Giddings out 2 games. Frederick, who's always been injury prone, with another foot injury. Frederick just cannot stay healthy, man. I mean, even throughout his entire career, only 1 full season. Mr. Injury Prone himself. The crazy thing is that was his storyline too. All right. So with that, guys, our next series we got Kentucky versus Chicago. I got Kentucky in 4, 5, 4, 4. All right, 4. Milwaukee versus Melbourne. I got Melbourne in 6. Seattle versus Vancouver. I got Seattle in 4. Minnesota versus Hawaii. I got Hawaii in 7. Washington versus Jacksonville. Washington in 4. Syracuse versus Carolina. Syracuse in 6. Syracuse is really slowing down since a super hot start of the season. Detroit versus Boston. I got Detroit in 6, I want to say. And Charlotte versus Tampa. I got Charlotte in 4, maybe 5. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Are you guys ready? Let's get this thing going. Checking lineups right now. All right. Let us get going. Game 1. Kentucky with the victory. Milwaukee with the victory. So far the favorites have the victories. Seattle with the victory. And Hawaii with a huge upset here. Actually in convincing fashion. 11 points. Thanks to Penetrator, who actually picked up a championship on Minnesota last year before returning to his home. Great game from Artis Gilmore. 26-13. Taking a look over here at Minnesota. 27 points for Jay Kumar. Yeah, it really was the only good thing that came out of Minnesota in that game. Washington picks up the victory over Jacksonville, Syracuse over Carolina, Detroit over Boston, and Charlotte over Tampa. We'll go straight into Game 2 here. Kentucky with another victory. This time Melbourne does upset in overtime in a 144-138 game. LaMelo and David McGillen both go off. It's hard to stand up against that duo. However, we had great performances from Adam McGillen, the McGillen brothers dueling it out, Flora and Damian. Damian with a near triple-double with 15 rebounds. Chase Merritt, of all players, hit the OT forcing game here, or OT forcing shot to keep Melbourne alive, and they now are tied 1-1. McGillen versus McGillen. Taking a look at Seattle, they pick up another victory over Vancouver. Minnesota beats Hawaii, no real surprise, as they're supposed to be the favorites here. Washington wins 2-0 so far. Syracuse also 2-0, Detroit 2-0, and Charlotte 2-0. The East has determined, basically, who is the favorites to win in this series. And with that, we will go one more game. Wow, Chicago is down 0-3. Kentucky with the victory there. Melbourne does pick up another victory. David McGillen keeping his team above his brother Adam. David McGillen with a 52-point 11-11 game. That is insane. Triple-double with 11 assists. We are seeing why David McGillen is the face of the family, not Adam. Adam McGillen is the Eli Manning to his Peyton. Seattle now leads 3-0 over Vancouver. Seattle, they're an underrated team here. Dante Robinson, near MVP caliber. Isaiah Thomas. Rob Moon was solid for a while. Defensive beast Jolly. They're a solid team. Bacon Maker looked like he was going to be another really great point guard for them as well. So Seattle's a really solid team against Vancouver's defensive team. Seattle's just putting up the points. Minnesota, a second victory with Washington now leading that series 3-0 against Jacksonville here. Honestly, this is just a really great Washington team, really all around. They are a little undersized, but I suppose that doesn't matter when you got the talent that they got. Taking a look here, we got Syracuse now. They pull off a loss here with Carolina winning in pretty solid fashion here, despite 28-5-5 from Matt Bonner. A bad game from Billups. The guy that actually came through here was Carl Williams, of all players, who had a phenomenal 6-7 shooting off the bench for 15 points in 11 minutes. Meanwhile, Charlotte now leads 3-0 and Detroit leads 3-0. We'll take a look to check in these series for any noticeable injuries. Looks like David Manning's going off. Though Sam Johnson had a good game. So the Clamp Man is doing stuff. And Charlotte does beat Tampa Bay here, but not in convincing fashion by any means. So with that, we will go one more game. All right, we have some surprises. The first one, Chicago beats Kentucky. Despite 36-11 and 7 steals from Axel Blaze and a 10-18 game from Dwight Schrute and a phenomenal 25 points, incredibly efficient from E.J. Peterson, Joe Caron and a team that is just really ragtag, led by a breakout game from Purvis Short with 25 points off the bench. I guess that's what did it, but honestly, it was just a team effort, and Chicago beats Kentucky. That's shocking. That is 1/3 of Kentucky's regular season losses right there, thanks to Chicago. Melbourne picks up another victory as Adam McGillen continues to be beat by his brother David McGillen, who has 25 points. A horrible game from Chase Merritt, the hero, earlier in this series. Honestly, this game was led by TJ. TJ Gorovillic overshadowed David McGillen when he fouled out, and TJ carried that team, and now Melbourne leads. Next up here, we got Seattle. They knock out Vancouver. They do escape without any major injuries in a sweep here. They're doing something that Kentucky couldn't do, which is crazy. Dante Robinson with his 27-point game. They only got 6 points from Isaiah Thomas, but that's all they needed. Dante Robinson, absolute beast. Hawaii picks up their second victory here. Minnesota now has a major injury as arguably their best player, or at least their second best behind Kumar, is out for a bit. We'll see if they're able to do anything there. Penetrator with 30 and 11. Minnesota might be down 3-2 next game. We'll see. Washington loses to Jacksonville. That's a real shocker. A 1-point victory here. Honestly, Jordan Fadjemison is just proving that he deserves to get paid this offseason, and Bowman as well. So we'll see what goes on there. Meanwhile, Light had a horrible game. Absolutely horrible. Just 2 of 11 shooting. Taking a look, Syracuse picks up their third victory. They need that. Boston is eliminated by Detroit. Detroit does not suffer any major injuries. Boston doesn't suffer any either. Meanwhile, Charlotte eliminates Tampa Bay with no injuries either reported. Big and Chunky had a phenomenal playoff run. I believe he averaged over 40 points per game. And frankly, if the team doesn't make any moves in this offseason, I could definitely see him getting paid. All right. So with that, we will go one more game. Are you guys ready? All right. So guys, I'm going to be joined for the rest of the playoffs by Goose. Goose, welcome back into the streaming room, Goose. Are you ready for the last few rounds of the ABA playoffs here?
Yeah.
Well, here we are. We will do Game 5 right now, and we shall see who leads. So, Kentucky knocks off Chicago. Melbourne knocks off Milwaukee as David McGillen and Axel Blaze will now show off against each other one last time as they are really battling it out for MVP this season. Honestly, I personally think that this year, while David McGillen is a phenomenal player, Axel Blaze broke the all-time record, so I'd personally give it to him. But we'll see. Adam McGillen proved that he is not nearly at the same level as his brother, who went for 48, 16, and 10 against him. That is an insane stat line. Seattle also, of course, advancing. Minnesota does pick up the very much needed victory despite a 48.9 assist game from Penetrator. We saw 26 points. KG also went off. KG in Minnesota. I love it. And really, Kane Neal and Rahman off the bench here. And Minnesota just having a really solid game. Washington does advance here. They also stay healthy, which is the most important thing this late in the playoffs here. Meanwhile, Carolina picks up a victory over Syracuse. This victory, it's huge. Carolina now has a chance. They might be able to come back. Big Shot Billups goes off for 28, 12, 6. frankly, he's the face of this Carolina Cougars team here. Meanwhile, 40 points from Matt Bonner, including 10 3-pointers, isn't enough to for Syracuse to win, which is just shocking. Detroit, of course, advancing without injuries, we talked about, and Charlotte as well. So, Goose, the question for you is, who do you think will win, Hawaii versus Minnesota or Syracuse versus Carolina? Or in those two series?
I honestly think that... so what are the current
Currently,
series?
we got Minnesota 3-2 against Hawaii, and we got Syracuse 3-2 against Carolina. No major injuries in either series.
I think that Syracuse will obviously prevail. Same with Minnesota.
I want Hawaii real bad, but I also don't know if they can dig themselves out of a game hole this late in the series.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have a repeat of Washington from last year.
We shall see. All right, guys, with that, one more game. All right, we actually have double eliminations here. So Hawaii does get knocked off by Minnesota in 6. A 5-point victory for Minnesota here. Maurice Stokes did get hurt in the game. Artis Gilmore fouled out in just 14 minutes, and when you have two big men do that's a big bummer to any team, and that's what really hit them here. Penetrator goes off for 41, but it is not enough. Hawaii is knocked out by Minnesota. Meanwhile, Syracuse knocks off Carolina in 6 as well. This was a 3-point victory for them. No game winner, though, but a phenomenal 27-16 game from Matt Bonner. And with that, we have our final 8. We have Kentucky versus Melbourne, David McGillen versus Axel Blaze. We have Minnesota versus Seattle, which is, two really solid, deep teams. Washington versus Syracuse, which were 2 of the front runners in the East, and Charlotte versus Detroit, which were the other 2. Honestly, the only team here that isn't a top 4 seed is Melbourne, which was 5th. It's a little disappointing that none of the lower seeds made it up here, but Carolina did give it a real close shot. And we saw some pretty good series from teams like Hawaii, and frankly, the fact that Chicago took a game was insane. Goose, in these 4 matchups, what are your predictions?
Kentucky over Melbourne. Let me see. Seattle, I think, can actually pull through against Minnesota. And Washington over Syracuse, and then Detroit over Charlotte.
Yeah, I agree with all your predictions as well. So we'll see here. One game in the books. Kentucky does beat Melbourne. We'll take a look at that really quickly here. 118-point victory here for Kentucky. McGillen just 29 points, whereas Axel Blaze 36 as they duel it out for MVP. Minnesota does beat Seattle by 7. Isaiah Thomas and Dante Robinson popped off, but it was really the strong performance from Kevin McDowell, midseason acquisition, and a strong defensive effort from Sawyer Howell that kept them afloat as Minnesota picked up a huge Game 1 victory. Washington beat Syracuse, no surprise here, but the score might be a bit of a surprise as it was only a 4-point game. Stonkus and Sullivan both going off, making up for a horrible 6 fouls in 15-minute game from Matt Bonner. If I am Washington, I'm a little concerned here because if Matt Bonner plays the whole game, I don't know if you can win. Greg Oden is probably their best matchup for him, but we'll see what goes on there. Meanwhile, Charlotte does pick up the victory over Detroit. A little bit of a shocker there, despite a great game from David Manning and Nobby Solano, incredibly efficient here. Alex Moore also has a bad game, but it's just a quality team effort that carries Charlotte to that victory. All right, so with that, we will sim one more game. Just going to check real quickly for lineups, guys. All right, no lineup changes reported. And we will go one more game. All right. So we got Melbourne picking up the victory over Kentucky. Kentucky's almost lost more games in the playoffs than they did during the regular season. David McGillen with 45 points, including 15 of 15 for free throws, 6 blocks as well. Meanwhile, Jacob Owens suffers a playoff-ending injury, a torn meniscus. We'll see if that affects his overall as well. Axel Blaze with 22, 14, and 6, but it isn't enough. As David McGillen does pick up the victory, and that series is now tied. We'll take a look at this injury. Let's see, does it affect his overall? It does not affect his overall, though it is the biggest injury of Jacobs' career. Minnesota picks up a second victory over Seattle. We could potentially, there is a path to victory here for Minnesota to win what would be, I believe, their 4th straight championship. It is possible. We'll take a real quick look at league history. It is possible.
Turn up my volume real quick.
Yep. I'll also turn you up in Discord for it. Give me 1 second.
Is this better?
Oh, yeah. Yep. That is a little bit better. All right.
All right.
So, with that, we will go Washington series versus Syracuse. That was a convincing victory. Another game in which Bonner struggles in foul trouble and it was inefficient from 3. It looks like small ball is winning so far, but no real stars are playing big roles for Washington. It's just a quality team effort. Meanwhile, Charlotte picks up the victory over Detroit in convincing fashion this time around. Despite good games from several players on Detroit, it was the great game of 36 points, 10 assists on incredibly efficient shooting from Alex Moore that gives them the victory here. Frankly, it looks like the most interesting series is going to be Kentucky-Melbourne. Can David McGillen single-handedly take down a 79-win team? We shall see. Game 3. Kentucky does pick up the victory here, only a 5-point victory. Axel Blaze goes off for 48 points, with E.J. Peterson hitting 32. Meanwhile, David McGillen just 39 points, including one of his worst games of the playoffs thus far, though he does manage to still triple-double because, of course, he is David McGillen. What else would you expect from him? Taking a look at the Minnesota Muskies here, 119-point victory over Seattle. They now are up 3-0. Minnesota just proving that they are the better team, this time led by Jay Kumar, who may carry this team to another deep run here. Dante Robinson had a pretty okay game, but it just wasn't good enough, and now Seattle is in a hole here. Meanwhile, Washington leads 3-0 over Syracuse. This time, once again, convincing fashion. This time, it was Josh Howard's game. It seems like they're rotating who breaks out and has a big game. And, Matt Bonner's still MIA. This guy carried them in the playoffs, but he's now really struggling against the smaller Washington team. Charlotte here, they won by just 2 points against Detroit in what we thought was going to be a really close series. But Charlotte, despite a bad performance from Alex Moore, Kmart comes through clutch, and the Charlotte small ball team did pick up a victory here. So we have what appears to be 3 non-series that we expected to be series, and probably Kentucky beating Melbourne here. We'll see what goes on in first elimination game here. All right, so we got 2 teams eliminated and 2 teams at a 3-1 game here. We'll take a look first at the 2 eliminated teams. So in shocking fashion, Minnesota sweeps Seattle. I did not expect that at all. Literally at all. This is actually shocking. Dante Robinson played horribly in this final game, just 1 of 6 from 3. Isaiah Thomas also really struggled. It's just this quality defense. McDowell and Sawyer are both shutdown defenders. KG's a great defender, and so is Danson Williams. And, this elite defense, they just shut down Seattle and knocked them out in 4. Minnesota might be well matched up against Kentucky next round. Meanwhile, Washington knocks out Syracuse. No real surprise there, as Washington's the better team, though the score, just a 2-point victory. This was, again, Josh Howard's game, 35 points going off, having a great game.
So, their star, Seattle's star, Jolly Giant Green, he did really poorly.
Pulling that up right now. He went 1 for 2 from the field. No, he had 10 blocks in that game.
Oh.
So, horrible offensively, but defensively, he doubled with blocks, which is Weirdest. I've never seen somebody double without points, or without assists, with blocks being one of the two categories. But we'll take a look at the Charlotte victory here. Detroit destroys Charlotte, finally picking up a game. Bad performances from the following: Jalen Weir, Alex Moore, Rex Padden, Mason Sparks, Brad Manning, Gordon Hayward, and Perro. And so basically the entire Charlotte team needs to play horribly, and Detroit will win the series. Also, David Manning had a pretty rough game, but Nabi Solano continues to step up for Detroit. So with that, Melbourne probably, I don't know if they can come back from a 3-1 hole. We'll see. Axel Blaze went off for 51. McGillen gets hurt. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's over. It's over. Yeah. McGillen going down with an injury, plantar fasciitis. You hate to see a series end like that, but there's no way Melbourne can beat the greatest.
I don't know about you, but I've never heard of a player in the basketball GM getting plantar fasciitis.
I think I've seen a few times, but it's not particularly common. All right. So with that, we'll sim one more game here. All right, we have our matchups finalized. So Kentucky, of course, destroys Melbourne, almost doubling their score. Oh, wow. That's embarrassing.
Harsh. That is harsh.
136-78.
Oh, my God.
2 of 11 from 3 from LaMelo Ball. 0 for 5 from 3 from TJ. Axel Blaze goes for 47. Give that man an MVP, guys. Vote Axel Blaze.
Yeah.
And Charlotte beats Detroit in 5. David Manning, Gene, both having solid games, but it is enough as Axel Moore goes off for 50 points. All right. I think this goes without saying. The winner of the West is probably the chip. Do you see any way in which Minnesota beats Kentucky?
God, no.
Yeah. Kentucky is having the best single season in ABA history. We'll see if the defense can prevail, but yeah.
The thing about Axel Blaze is that he has seen almost every team in the 2030s that has made it to the finals. And I find that insane.
Yeah.
That guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame as soon as he retires.
Oh, of course. So with that, one day. No surprise, Washington beat Charlotte there. 135 points were scored by Washington, with all 3 of their stars really having solid games. Actually, Mel O'Keefe didn't really have a solid game, but a lot of their role players did, and they pick up the victory there. Meanwhile, Kentucky, in 7-point fashion, not as great as they normally do, but they do beat the Muskies. 41 from Axel versus 33 from Tom Hoyle. I think you can't really expect more from Hoyle, so I don't know if Minnesota really has a chance here, but we'll see in Game 2. Yeah, both series are now 2-0. A little anticlimactic here. Rex Padden goes off for 21, but that isn't enough, as Washington does pick up the victory again with no player scoring over 20 points, just a team effort. Washington with the victory there. Looking at Kentucky here, this time they win in more convincing fashion. Jay Kumar, Tom Hoyle, Danson Williams, and KG all held to under 10 points 10 points in this game. In fact, the leading scorer was Kane Neal off the bench. Yeah.
Wow.
J.D. Bell goes down with an injury. Axel Blaze only needed 15 points in that game. He actually played horribly. This would have been their victory, but E.J. Peterson, of course, steals it from them. Barring an Axel injury, I think that series might be over. I think Charlotte still might have a chance to come back. We'll see. We actually get up dogs take the victory here. The upsets occur. The underdogs will win. Minnesota destroys Kentucky here in shocking fashion, a 20-point victory. Axel gets 42 and 13 with 3 steals, but it isn't enough as 3 players score 23 points for Minnesota. Honestly, that's shocking. I've never seen a a team effort work like that, but they did it. They knocked out. They picked up a victory. Taking a look at Charlotte here, they pick up the much-needed victory over Washington. Washington had no players over 20. Meanwhile, Alex Moore, the game-high 20 points. This was the inverse of the last game, a team effort from Charlotte. With that, we go into Game 4. With each series 2-1, who do you think is going to win each series, Goose?
1 sec. Alright, Kentucky for sure. And then we will probably see Washington pull it off. Unless they have a fatal injury. Probably to, Kuzminkas. If that's Kuzminkas, then I think Charlotte has a chance.
Yeah. We shall see. One more game. So now each series is 3-1, with the favorites picking up a victory again. A 7-point victory for Kentucky here. Not as convincing as you'd like. A horrible game from Axel Blaze. 4 of 20 shooting. But it's still enough as they beat Minnesota, who has just bad games across the board once again. And with that, Kentucky will very likely advance as they now lead 3-1. Washington also leads 3-1, winning by just 1 point in this game. Alex Moore really struggled. We saw a bad game from Weir and a bad game from Kmart. Mason Sparks just shot 1 shot on offense, which is crazy. Underuse of the big man against a small team. And Light was the game-high 23 points. Josh Howard's been pretty much MIA the last 2 games. With that, we go into Game 5 here. All right, we got 1 victory and we got 1 loss. Most importantly, Washington shall advance, making their first finals appearance. Frankly, I expected they'd make some finals in the early 2000s. I don't believe they did, early 2020s, because they had the Secret Service, as they were called. Now, it's... I almost want to call it the Capitol Police, but
yeah, that wouldn't have gone over well if we introduced that a week ago.
Yeah, but Washington Bullets having a great game led by Josh Howard as they pick up the victory here, and Washington will advance to the finals. I think that's their first time in franchise history, because I don't think they made it in the early days. No, they didn't. So they had some great runs, but they didn't make the finals. Now they will. Knocking out Charlotte, they will be healthy. Meanwhile, Minnesota picks up the victory. Axel Blaze has a fine game, but is still struggling efficiency-wise. And it's a team effort with 3 players over 20 points. Do you think there's any way Minnesota can come back down 3-2? Kentucky has now lost more games in the playoffs than they lost during the regular season.
If Axel Blaze gets injured, only.
Yeah, we'll see. Next game here. We will do one more sim and then we'll do live sim here. Oh, they lost! Game 7!
No
Game
way.
7!
No way.
Minnesota with the victory. 106-89. Axel Blaze gets hurt! Axel Blaze gets hurt!
No
Oh
way.
my God! Goose called it! Goose called it! Axel Blaze is hurt! 1 game. He will miss Game 7.
I'm a genius, man.
Kentucky might have blown it. Their perfect season. They have lost as many games in this series. KG was out in this game, but Jay Kumar carried them. That is absolutely insane. Who do you think will win Game 7, Goose?
Well, now I think it's obvious. Minnesota.
What are we witnessing? The absolute insanity.
I can't wait to tell Penguino what happened.
Oh my God. That is absolutely crazy. BBGM at work. We will live sim this game. Are you guys ready?
Ready as ever. Can't wait to see.
After 1 quarter, Minnesota leads by 11 points. After 2, they lead by 12 points. After 3, they lead by 11 points. With 6 minutes left in the game, it is a 13-point lead for Minnesota. They could do it. With 3 minutes left in the game, it is an 18-point game. It might be over. Minnesota might beat the greatest team in league history. Wow. This is insane. I've never seen a comeback like this. They were down 3-1. Kentucky blew a 3-1 conference finals lead with Axel Blaze, Jay Kumar, and Toyer Howell. The absolute craziest playoff series ever. Minnesota advances to their 4th straight finals, and Axel Blaze has fallen short. Absolute insanity.
I called it.
Wow. Who do you think's going to win? Washington or Minnesota? We have a series.
I don't know now.
I don't think anyone planned for this. Wow.
You know, I was planning on Kentucky going all the way.
I think everyone was.
Every team. I didn't expect Axel Blaze to get injured and then their entire team to go like...
This is insane. All right. Are you ready, guys? Washington or Minnesota? Let me know in the comments section. Spam who you think will win. Because it's not going to be Kentucky and Axel Blaze.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, in every sim I've done, Kentucky won, and they actually swept Minnesota, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
It was a 4-0 victory.
That is absolutely insane. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could have predicted this.
Except for you, Goose.
Oh yeah, that's right, I did.
Minutes before it happens, Goose predicts an Axel Blaze injury. Then an Axel Blaze injury and a Minnesota upset. Alright, game 1 of the finals, live.
I mean, I was right. That's how they would win.
Minnesota trouncing them at the end of 1. At the end of 2, it is a near 20-point game. End of 3, slight comeback for Washington, but Gordon and Williams, 2 starters, 1 on each team, getting hurt. 6 minutes left. It's a 10-point game. 3 minutes left is Washington is coming back, led by Mel O'Keefe. Defensively, they had just stolen the ball with 3 minutes left. Washington could come back. Spud Webb at the line. He hits one, misses the game-tying free throw. KG the rebound, blocked by Odin. Odin attempts the low post, misses. KG the rebound again. McDowell mid-range, misses. KG the board. Howell for 3. It's good! Minnesota leads by 4. Thomas, Light turns it over. And Howell mid-range. Odin the rebounds. Substitutions here. Light at the rim. He scores 2-point lead for Minnesota. Kane Neal at the rim and 1. He hits the free throw. It is a 5-point game. Light for 2. It's good. 3-point game. Howell will post. It's good. 5-point game. Kumar steals the ball. Kane Neal scores. O'Keefe for 3 misses. It looks like Minnesota may hold on. Bogues turns it over. McDowell misses. McDowell the offensive board. Kumar the dagger ending the game here. And even though Light hit a 3, 6-point game, there's no way they're coming back from this. Light does hit a 3 at the buzzer, but they end up winning a 5-point victory here. We'll check in on Josh Howard's injury. Josh Howard is going to be back in the next game. Now we'll go take a look at Danson Williams' injury. So here's the interesting thing. If the same goes to Game 7, while he's been out the entire playoffs, Geno Parker might come back. That would be a huge win for Minnesota. So we'll see what occurs here as we go into Game 2. Game 2. Minnesota leads big after 1, even bigger after 2, hugely after 3, and it's an absolute blowout. There is no coming back for Washington.
I swear to God, if Muskies win again.
And Muskies did pick up the victory here in convincing fashion. This might go down as the single greatest championship run from Minnesota, as they would have upset a 79-win team in the conference finals.
This is a dynasty.
Yeah.
A major dynasty. This will always be remembered by ABA fans.
Washington leads after 1. Washington leads big time after 2. Washington destroying them after 3. Washington up by 7 after with 8 minutes left. 7 with 5 minutes left. With 3 minutes, they're up by double digits and is over. Washington holds on with 3 players over 20 points on their team versus 2 on the other. And Washington is now down 2-1. We might have a legitimate series here as we go into Game 4.
Alrighty, here we go. I don't know about you, but I think Kuzminkas has been playing rather light.
Yes.
Haha, funny.
Yeah, this is insane. Alright, here we go. Washington down 3. Washington down 10. Washington down over almost 20 points. Washington down 10 points. Washington down 6 points. The comeback is going on, but will it catch up? Washington down 4 points. Kuzminkas for 3, no good. McDowell the rebound. Subs Danson Williams at the line here. He misses both free throws. 4-point game. Washington with the ball here. Josh Howard at the line. He hits 1. It is a 1-possession game. We are witnessing a 20-plus point comeback from Washington right now in Game 4 here. J.D. Bell does hit the 3. Josh Howard for 3. It's also good. Foul on Light. Bell at the line. He hits 2. Light for 3. It's good. 2-point game. Howell at the rim. Misses. McDowell the offensive board. Howell for 3. He hits it. Light turns it over. Howell for 3. It's good. Howell back-to-back clutch 3-pointers. 8-point game. Minnesota holds on so far. Howell fouls out after his 2 threes. With 2 seconds left, Howard at the line. He hits both. 6-point game. Foul on Bogues. Williams at the line. He hits both. That's game. Honestly, a great effort as they try to come back from a deficit, but Sawyer Howell proving why he probably deserves Finals MVP with a 24-point, 18-assist game in which he hit 2 clutch 3-pointers. Minnesota now leads 3-1, the same amount that Kentucky led them over.
Congrats.
Minnesota leads by literally double Washington's score after 1. Leads by 22 after
over.
2. Going into the fourth quarter here, they lead by 25 points. I don't know if a comeback is plausible. It's a 25-point game with 6 minutes left, and I think the Minnesota Muskies dynasty continues thanks to just miracles. What a great run here, but we'll just let the clock run out here. Mostly because I'm incredibly hyped for the newest feature. Look at that confetti. It is in team color. I'm so happy. Thank you, Dumb Matter. Oh, it's exactly what I imagined. Look at that confetti. I love it. I had asked Dumb Matter to do confetti, and it is exactly what I imagined. Very happy. Yeah, you'll see. It's when you win that chip.
I never knew that this was happening.
It's new. Very excited. BBGM's a great game because Devs hits you up if you doesn't matter, hits you up if you talk with him, and changes will occur. So we'll take a look at Finals MVP. Finals MVP is given to Jay Kumar, who carries them. We do have award voting, so I will input those awards momentarily here. And then we also have 2 expansion teams. So the expansion draft will take place on Wednesday. Teams will have 2 days to get in their 9 protections. If you fail, your top 8 players by potential will be protected. You cannot protect 2-way players. And I will add in the awards now. Congrats to Minnesota Muskies on a 4-peat. Absolutely insane.
Now, I would like to say a few things myself.
Yes, sir.
Alright, so about the expansion and about the major moves in the league next season, I would like to point out that not only are we getting our first African team, but we're getting our first completely international division. And actually, we're getting 3 of those.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Going to be pretty excited.
Yeah.
So with that, congratulations to Minnesota. So sorry, Kentucky. Yeah.
I could tell Penguino to be crying.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys, and have a good one.